Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kaden. I'll be your host today. So guys, it is officially the month of November. I can't believe it's already here. Oh my god, this year has gone by, at least the second half of this year has gone by so fucking fast. It's insane. Girl, I am exhausted. It has been such a long day. I do want to apologize in advance before we actually get into the video. I have to leave, pretty much the second I finish recording this video. What I'm trying to say is I'm sorry if this video feels rushed at all or, disordered, because it is. So yeah. Anyways, of course, now it being November means that spooky season has ended, October's gone, so let's go over the 9 books that I read in the month of October. October was very much so, the best reading month I've had in a minute. Or all year, to be honest. I, haven't really been on my, reading a shit ton of books every single month. October, I was locked in, babe. Now, without further ado, let's actually get into talking about the books. If you're new here, how we do our wrap-ups is I do them from least to best rated, just so that way we get, the bad shit done with and can end on a high note. With that being said, let's start with our 1.5 star book, The Long Walk by Stephen King. Now, of course, I started this in September because the movie had just come out, and this is one of my friend's favorite books, so I was like, of course, I'll pick it up, I'll read it for you, we can talk about it. I fucking hated this book. Okay. So if you don't know the premise, The Long Walk is where 100 kids are taken from the United States, 100 boys, let me specify, around teenage, high school aged, and are basically told you have to walk 4 miles per hour minimum until there's one of you left. It's very Hunger Games if it was boring. Yeah. So that's basically the rough plot. We follow our main character Garrity as he embarks on this journey. Now there's several reasons why I hated this book, and I think the first one is that Stephen King wrote it. And I'm not saying that in a I hate Stephen King sort of way, which I do. Fuck that guy as a human being. I think he's a despicable person. But anyway, yeah. Stephen King, if it wasn't him that wrote this would have been actually a very good story. I think the premise is very interesting. Now, here's the thing is I hate that he wrote this because every character is fucking awful. Okay, the main character, within the first few minutes of the walk, he cheats on his girlfriend with, just some random girl, starts making out with her for no fucking reason. And then he's like, ooh, I won't do that in the future. I'm gonna stay loyal to my girlfriend. Girl, I'm not fucking applauding for you. You just cheated on her. But anyway. And then another character, one of the other main characters, McVrees, at one point literally admits to essaying his girlfriend. He's like, yeah, or trying to essay her, but he's like, oh, but she cut me with a box cutter, so who really got hurt here? Excuse me? And throughout this book, there's just constant over-sexualization of women, which of course is expected with Stephen King because he's an evil fucking person. But it's awful here with, by the time the first kid dies, you get a paragraph that's oh shit, and then it immediately jumps into the main character being but there's a woman that I'm walking past and I can see up her dress and I'm so turned on, and it's what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What's the point? The reason I give this 1.5 stars is, one, out of I feel really bad that I hated this because it's one of my friend's favorite books, and two, because I think the premise is interesting. There's some very rough world building that I think is very interesting. But girl, you got me so fucked up. This is so bad. I even started tabbing it towards the end. I don't know if you can really see that all that well. Here, wait. How do I don't know if you could see that very well, but I started tabbing this with stuff that I thought was good. and stuff that I thought was bad. And there's just a lot of bad, because again, Stephen King writing is very icky. I don't like his writing. Ugh. Also, I think the ending of the book is awful compared to the movie. I think the movie in general took this like very much so developed this concept very well and made it very accessible to a general audience instead of like, this is for males. Like, this feels like it's written for and by men. And the movie is like, okay, we're actually a dystopia, we're actually trying to do something here, you know? This was just like an awful time. I genuinely suffered through this. I had this at 3 point like something x speed, and it was still too slow. I could not for the life of me care about these characters, except for Stebbins. Stebbins I really liked, and even Barkovich I kind of liked. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about him as a character, both in the movie and the book, but yeah. Anyway, awful, trash, garbage. Ew. Now, from here on out, it's like all like mediocre to really great books. Like, that was just the one bad book. So, moving on to our 3-star rated books. First up is Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. She is the same person that wrote If We Were Villains. It's a little underground, I don't know if you've heard of it. But it is the same author as that book, and it's a short horror novella about this group of people who are like in college or like associated with this college in some way, and they meet up at this graveyard every night to smoke cigarettes, and they start getting involved into some sort of a mystery, basically. That's as much as I'm gonna say. I do want to keep it as vague as possible because it's so short. I'm gonna be so for real. I did not like this as much as I was hoping to. I feel like we didn't really get anything done by the end of this. I think the mystery was very low stakes. I was very confused on why we were getting involved and each character's motivations. It's just a very odd story to me. I don't think it felt very based in reality like it was trying to be. I also think that like the concept of a group of like people associated with a college, while interesting, don't get me wrong, I feel like the like to smoke cigarettes was like a little like, okay girl, what are we doing? But other than that, it was fine. I feel like we didn't really fully wrap up with our characters. I just feel there was no real stakes to this. I didn't feel a real personal connection to it or anything. And I literally I read almost this whole thing, or at least listened to almost this whole thing in like an hour while trying my Halloween makeup for the first time, which, let me digress for a moment. Girl, I ate on Halloween, just saying. But, this did not. I feel like I was expecting a lot more out of this, and I just felt very underwhelmed. It could have gotten a lot more interesting. The horror could have been more there. Just very flat throughout. I don't know. Not my favorite. Then we have Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This I read for a different friend because I not owned, but like I had her copy of the book and have had it since like sophomore year. I gave it back, which is why I don't have it on me right now. But yeah, if you don't know what Pet Sematary is about, basically this family, this like nuclear family moves to like some random fucking place by a highway, and they have nearby, like their house, they have a pet cemetery where the whole town like buries pets that have died on this highway, or not highway, but like this road where there's a lot of big trucks coming through all the time. It is like the original grief horror, at least to my knowledge. Like, it's what started the trend of grief horror, pretty much. I give it a 3 because while I actually did thoroughly enjoy it, I thought it was a very like entertaining book. I just like, my heart wasn't in it. I don't know. I didn't feel very connected to what was happening. And I think it's a very slow, meandering plot with not really a lot of, like, stuff happening, if that makes sense. Like, we kind of dawdle on stuff, and it's more a meditation on grief and life and death, rather than, like, an actual horror book. And I think, had I known that going in, I would have liked it a lot more. I definitely think it's one of, like, the better of Stephen King that I've read this year, out of the two that I've read this year. But I really did like that in this book the main characters are very smart. I think the parents are very smart. At the end, though, we do get to the point where it is like they are too smart, so we have to dumb them down in order to really keep the plot going. It's like explained why they're being, like, dumbed down, kind of, but it's still a little annoying. I feel like the ending was also very just like, okay, whatever. Ugh. I don't know. It was a fine book. Again, I do think I would reread it. I definitely want to. I tried to watch the movie for it, and then for reasons that I can't explain, I just, like, don't really remember most of the movie, so yeah. Now moving on, we have a 4-star book, and that is Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levins. This, oh my fucking god. So if you don't know what Rosemary's Baby is about, basically it is about this young couple who, I think it's like, it is post-Kennedy assassination, because it is brought up in this book. Like, it's mentioned that this is post-assassination. This young couple moves into this like apartment in New York, and it's a very, like, ooh, like an apartment, you know, like it's like, ooh, there's a name to this building, and it's very distinguished. And they start to interact with their neighbors, who are all above the age of 50 for some reason. All of their friends, almost all of their friends in this book are, like, above the age of 50 for some reason. And basically some weird stuff starts to happen when Rosemary gets pregnant. She begins to experience a lot of very unsettling and, like, something's wrong, you know? There's something going on that she can't quite put her finger on, and it's such a good book. Oh my fucking god, I love this. I also watched the movie with my friend, who made me read The Long Walk. So fucking good. That movie was so good. It's very, like, beat for beat the same story, and I really liked that. Mystery is very well developed. It is a very short book. It's below 250 pages, and I think the mystery is done very well. I feel like there's a lot of commentary on, like, relationships and how women, especially in the 60s, were kind of treated in relationships, and, like, how women are treated during pregnancy. And I just feel like it was a very interesting story, and this is, again, a story I want to revisit a lot of times in my life. I think there is so much to get out of this book, and it's a very fun read. The ending is not my favorite, both in the book and the movie. They differ a little bit in the ending, not a lot. The ending in the book is just a little bit more definite. This is a very well-crafted book. I think there's some stuff that definitely has not aged well. Every time we see a person of color, it says that word instead of a black person or a person of color, which was just like, yeah, I can tell when this was written. But yeah, this was a very amazing read, and I would highly recommend, like, oh my god, please pick this up. This is so fun. Actually, not really fun. This is more, like, terrifying than fun, but you get what I'm saying. Ew, I hate warm Dr. Pepper so much. Cool. Moving on to our 4.5-star books, of which there are 4. This month was fucking fantastic for reading. So first up is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cluer. I don't know how to fucking pronounce that name. But I listened to this on audiobook because I saw a video of someone being like, oh, I accidentally picked up the wrong version of this. Which I wanted to, like, do a video reading both of them and talking about them, and I just, like, ran out of time. But yeah, I picked this up on audiobook and it was fantastic. So this is a book that's based off of actually a Reddit no sleep like story. Where basically this woman who her and her wife are living in this new house are just hanging out, and then one night this couple comes up, or like this nuclear family once again, this mom, dad, and 3 kids. They pull up and the dad's like, hey, you know, I used to live here growing up, can I take a look inside? And the main character's like, I fucking guess, bro. Like, she's like, uncomfortable with it, but she's like, sure. And as she lets these people into her home, they overstay their welcome. They're being very weird, and we start to enter just a series of like insane shit happening. I loved this so much. First of all, I think our main character was very interesting, like a very interesting point of view to read from. And she wasn't really like a dumb main character, but there were several points where it was like, bitch, kick them out of your house now. Put them in the snow, put them in their car. It's fine. It's not your problem. Put them out on their asses. They're being weird. Other than that, like, I think our main character was very smart, and I think the tension was built very well throughout the book, and it kept me very interested in what was happening. Interspersed between chapters as well are like internet like forums and stuff of like specific things that are relevant to the story, or like, you know, are like maybe leading you towards what's happening with the situation that our main character is facing. It's very well crafted. It's very unique. I definitely would love to see this as an actual movie, though I'm not sure it would really translate perfectly to screen, because I do think the like Reddit threads and like probably 4chan threads as well, like keep a lot of the intrigue and really help you like spin the mystery a bit more. It does feel almost borderline like psychological thriller horror kind of. I really fuck with it. I really loved it. There were also several moments where genuinely I was like, ooh, I wasn't like not disturbed. I wasn't like scared necessarily. I wasn't like, oh shit, but I was definitely like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. It's freaking me the fuck out. Another story, though, where I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the ending. I feel like we could have made the ending a little bit more definite. It doesn't really end on, like, an exact, like, boom. It's very much so, like, kind of up in arms about what could happen next. Which just was not my favorite choice. I definitely wanted something more out of it. Something a little more cathartic of an ending. But it's fine. I think I was fine with how it wrapped up. That's kind of why it didn't get a full 5 stars, is because that ending wasn't my favorite. And also we did get a little confusing. I am a little lost on exactly what was happening, but I think that might have been for external reasons other than like the story. I think that was my own reading, not the book. You know, I would highly recommend. I thought this was going to be a very overhyped horror release, but honestly, if you're looking for like a very unique horror book that like has some good, like strong, tense moments and like a very intriguing mystery, please give this a read because it will not let you down. Then I read The Pumpkin Spice Latte by Lori Gilmore. This was my biggest surprise of the year, I think, in terms of reading, because I picked this up thinking I was expecting to hate on it, actually. In September, I read some Freida McFadden, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to keep going on the hate read train, like, that's really keeping me reading a lot more. So let me pick up the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This looks dumb as fuck. And basically, this is a very typical Hallmark movie setup where our main character, she moves to this new town to take over literally the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and she meets this like dreamy farmer guy who she immediately falls head over. They immediately are like, oh my god, I want you, in their heads. And it's a very fun, light romance. Here's the thing is I love a good cheesy book. I love a good cheesy romance because here's the thing. I think there are some mystery elements throughout the story that I did really like, and I feel like helped balance out the romance a little bit and the like, oh my god, I want him, oh my god, I want her sort of thing. And I feel like both of our main characters had a very realistic, like their personal points of view are very well written. That's what I'm trying to say. I can't really like structure it or like articulate what I'm trying to say, but I think they were both very well written characters for like at least what I thought this was going to be, you know? And I feel like the town itself was very well written. I do love like a small town, like we're all in each other's business sort of energy. It's very funny, it's very light. And the only reason it didn't get a 5 is because this didn't really have anything to say. Like that's the only thing is that would like boost it higher for me is like I don't know, give me a little realistic, a little bit more of a realistic relationship drama or something. And it definitely was very Hallmarky, but I found myself loving it, and I definitely tried to like not love it as well. I was very hesitant to like it because I thought I would be let down, but I had a fun time. I think if you want a shitty, like, not even shitty, like an actually like pretty decent Hallmark movie for the fall, read The Pumpkin Spice Latte Cafe. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I'm fucking stupid, my bad. But anyway, read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. I think it's a very fun, mindless read that will like get you into not only like a very Hallmarky happy mood, but also it just gets you involved in a story where you're like, oh my god, I feel like I know everyone and I love this. I had a lot of fun with this. And I'm actually planning on continuing with the series this month. Then, for my book club, we had A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This was, like, the most exciting first read for me for, book club, because I joined and I was, like, a little hesitant on, like, what you're going to be reading based off of bad romance heavy, and I was like, oh no, are we gonna be stuck reading this? I was pleasantly surprised. If you don't know what A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is about, basically, our main character, Pippa Fitzimobi, for her senior AP capstone project, is trying to solve a murder that happened for 5 years ago, where, like, the popular girl was murdered by her boyfriend, and she actually ends up teaming up with the brother of said murderer and tries to solve the murder. I think that was the most convoluted way I could have explained that, but yeah. I really, really loved this. Of course, I read this whole series my sophomore year of high school, and just revisiting this, it's very fun. I'm very tempted to pick up the other two books and, like, just do a full series reread. I don't know, I'm not really, like, a big rereader person, but I think this was just a very fun, like, fast-paced thriller. I really love that our main character is smart, and she figures shit out herself. Pippa figures shit out herself. In the show, the biggest thing I hated about the show, don't watch the show if you really love the books, is that Pippa does not actually, she falls into all the answers in the show. In the show, she's just like, oh my god, new information, instead of here where she's like, I'm going to break into someone's house and I'm gonna find some fucking answers. I really love this. I think it's also, it's willing to get very dark for a YA thriller, which I always appreciate, because I think for young adult stories, we shouldn't all be too worried to hold back on getting a little grim with some shit, and this gets pretty dark, and I really fuck with it. And I really like the mystery. It's a very, you solve it along with the main character. it's just such a fun book. I really loved it. I will say the age gap between our main character and the brother, who they do end up having a romance, it's a little iffy. I'm side-eyeing it a little, but it's fine. Like, it's not super. He's actually a really good love interest, so I'm okay with it. Once again, very smart characters who are like actually real people, you know. And I loved it. I loved it. I love this series. I need to read more from Holly Jackson. Then, guess what? We have another reread. I reread Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury for my AP Lit class, and now the thought of this book makes me vaguely nauseous. Not actually. I actually really, really loved this book a lot more upon rereading it. I read this for the first time this year, in January, because I didn't know I would be reading this for AP Lit. This is a sci-fi dystopia where firefighters are obsolete. Firefighters are not obsolete, but instead of fighting fires, they are burning books. Books are pretty much illegal. Not pretty much. Books are illegal, and like, it's a very post hustle culture, post consumer, like, intensive consumerist society, and I think it was done very well. I did lower my rating from the first time reading this, and that's actually not out of enjoyment. I do think there are some things in this book that did not age very well, that kind of go against the point of the book. Like, at one point, our main character goes off on a woman and is like, you know, you don't care that your husbands that your husbands have died, and also you with all your abortions and your C-sections, and it kind of comes out of like, where you're just like, what the fuck? What was the point of that? It's very, I didn't love that. I feel like it aged very poorly, and soon after that, one of the guys who's helping our main character rebel, or not rebel, kind of rebel, hard to explain, but is like, you know what, forget the women, like, we don't need them for the rebellion or whatever the fuck, which is also just bullshit. And also, at one point, he references himself as a minstrel man, which is just very fucked up and like, ew. And to top it all off, our main character does start his like not realization, but like, he starts to really like detach himself from this society through a 16-year-old girl who's a manic pixie dream girl. Of course, she's just giving that energy. Yeah, it's just very, who he's like attracted to. Yeah, it's very icky. But like, genuine, it's gonna sound insane, but like, outside of that, I do think there's a lot of merit to this book. I think that Fahrenheit 451 is definitely one of the most important pieces of literature nowadays, especially, again, like I said, with hustle culture and, you know, like, the new insecurities, like the buckle fat face removal from a couple of years and stuff, and just the intense amount of consumerism, and with AI as well. It's very relevant, and I think it's a very interesting book, and I do have a lot of love for it, if you cannot tell. I annotated the fuck out of this. Oh, my tabs are still in this. Like, I'll flip through it, and you can just see that, like, barely a page went untouched by my highlighter. I really love this book, and again, like I said, I think it's massively important. However, I do think that it has several aspects have aged poorly, and they kind of go against the point of the book. It's definitely a classic that's worth your time. It's very accessible. It's a very interesting story. Last but not least, I have one 5-star book, and that is The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimeline? I don't know how to say that last name. But this is one of the best YA dystopians I've read in a fucking minute. Oh my god. Okay, editing me here. I explained this book horrifically. Basically, The Marrow Thieves is a YA dystopia that is post-apocalyptic, post-global warming, where basically white people have lost the ability to dream for some reason, and on top of the already, like, growing issues, white people discovered that indigenous people have something in their bone marrow that would allow them to dream once more, because indigenous people were the only ones who didn't lose the ability to dream. So they have been hunted down and are actively still being hunted down and sent to basically, like, reform school, whatever the schools were called that they would send indigenous people to. They would send them there and harvest the bone marrow. You meet up with a group of survivors and learn their stories as they are trying to escape people who are still actively hunting them down. But I heard this is being taught in some schools in Canada, and I think it should be taught here as well. Because not only does this book talk a lot about it talks a lot about, if you know any history about Canada and, like, how they treated indigenous people around colonization times. It talks a lot about, I forget what they're called exactly, but the schools that existed where they would send these children, they would just be horrifically abused and forced to live into basically English culture. It talks a lot about that. It's a very sad, like, look at post-apocalyptic, like, how people are treated, people behave during the how people would behave during the apocalypse, and how just shit humanity can really be in that situation. It very much so. There's some very horrific backstories that come up at several points where you read them and it's very heart-wrenching. You very much so feel for these characters. It's a very powerful book. I think I actually cried at the ending, and I really fuck with it. I really love this book. There is so much that you can really get out of it about just, like, the mistreatment of indigenous people from, like, the very beginning, of, like, again, the beginning colonization times, where we just have always treated them subhuman for no fucking reason, and continue to do so in this book. A very sad look at grief at points, and growing up being hunted and being seen as other. And I love it. I really love it. And for I don't even think this book, again, does not break 250 pages, and it packs such a punch. And this is a modern classic. I think this should be taught in schools to this day and in the future. And always, I genuinely think this is such an important story to keep in our hearts. And with that, that is all the books that I read in the month of October. If you've read any of these, want to read any of these, let me know your thoughts down below. What did you read last month? Tell me, I want to know. I'm looking to add more shit to my TBR. As always, it's ever expanding. It's bad. If you're into any bookish content, horror content, movies as well, hit subscribe. I'm trying to do more movie content. I plan on making a video about the new Frankenstein movie that came out today, actually. Maybe a movie on a certain author's new movie as well that I want to talk about. I don't know, yeah, there's a lot planned. I also have several reading vlogs planned, so stay tuned and stick around. This is very much so just a fun little place where I want to talk about books and shit. So yeah, you should come along. Thank you all for watching and have an amazing day. I love you all so much. Goodbye!